Outside of love, everything else seems to be a waste of time. I like men.
You were accused of
inciting and exciting a riot, of being a public nuisance. I'm a bad influence.
During the golden age of Hollywood, two actresses epitomized sensuous women of mystery, or what one critic called the glamour of sin. One was known as the mysterious stranger and the Swedish Sphinx. Film critics dubbed her the dream princess of eternity. More often, she was simply the divine Garbo. The other was called the most glamorous woman in the world. Newspapers labeled her the Empress of Desire, and sometimes fans knew her by the nickname La Dietrich. As sultry cinema sirens, Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich projected themselves as sensual beings beyond mere mortals, both on screen and off. Like their screen images, no one could possess them, for they were as unobtainable as light and shadow. The mystery and mystique of these two cinema legends live on in their classic movies, which have immortalized them as two of Hollywood's greatest rivals. Foreign movie stars have always had a hint of the exotic in Hollywood's dream machine. Two of the most glamorous and enigmatic actresses of all time were Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich.
Nothing doing. I'm an actress.
Their studios, MGM and Paramount, pitted them against each other, playing highly exotic roles in a battle for box office popularity. Strange fates intertwined their careers. Both began playing small parts in their native lands. Both were discovered by influential directors who brought them to America. And both emerged as movie love goddesses during the golden age of Hollywood. Although Garbo made relatively few films compared with her contemporaries, she became one of the biggest stars of all time, one that has yet to dim.
Greta Garbo, a dear woman, very sweet woman, a lovely woman, rather overrated as an actress.
George Cukor, who loved her, you know, adored her, he said, you didn't see it when you shot it, even how great it was. Right. It's on the screen afterwards, suddenly appeared this mystique.
Not as ethereal as Greta, but also charged with sensuality, Marlene tested the standards of her time with ambiguous sexual orientation and brazen demeanor.
Marlene Dietrich had quite a fabulous career. She was one of the great glamour stars.
Strangely enough, the two rivals often crossed each other's paths. Greta Louise Gustafsson was born on September 18, 1905, and grew up in poverty in Stockholm, Sweden. As a teenager, she worked as a salesgirl in a large department store. There, her natural beauty earned her a role in a promotional film for her employers, How Not to Dress. This led to other parts in commercials and in a slapstick comedy short, Peter the Tramp. Greta won a scholarship to a prestigious dramatic school. There she met Moritz Stiller, one of Sweden's most acclaimed directors. Looking for an actress to play one of the leads in his epic 1924 film, The Atonement of Gösta Berling, Stiller cast Greta as the hero's romantic interest. The 17-year-old actress played Countess Elizabeth Dona, a married woman who falls in love with a disgraced and defrocked minister. Her purity and love help redeem him. Stiller and Greta became inseparable, with the director carefully coaching and cultivating the young actress, introducing her to society and managing her personal affairs. His domination of her was total, but beneficial. Stiller changed Greta's surname from Gustafsson to Garbo, although he had originally considered naming her Mona Gabor. Whether they were romantically involved remains a mystery. While some murmured that Stiller and Garbo were like Svengali and Trilby, the results transformed Greta from a shy, awkward teenager into the actress who would become known as the Divine Garbo. The Atonement of Gösta Berling opened to mixed reviews in Sweden, but in Germany it was greeted with great critical acclaim. Garbo's performance garnered rave reviews and earned her a starring role along with the great cinema diva Asta Nielsen in a German film. Street of Sorrow told the plight of women forced into prostitution, to help support their families in post-World War I Vienna. Nielsen and Garbo played women who became caught in this web. Also in the film was an unbilled extra by the name of Marlene Dietrich. Born Maria Magdalene Dietrich in Berlin on December 27, 1901, she grew up in a conservative middle-class home. Her dream of becoming a concert violinist cut short by a wrist injury. She instead pursued an acting and singing career. After a year as a chorus girl, she was accepted in the Max Reinhardt Drama School. In 1924, she married a Czech production assistant, Rudolf Sieber, and a year later they had a daughter, Maria. However, that was the end of anything resembling a traditional family life. Although they never divorced, the couple lived apart for the remainder of their lives. Having suffered the hardships of post-war Germany, Marlene immersed herself in Berlin of the 1920s with its liberated lifestyles, sexual freedom, and social experimentation. Her uncredited role in Street of Sorrow had been simply one of a number of German films she appeared in during the 20s. It marked the only time Dietrich and Garbo were in the same film. When Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios approached Maurice Stiller to direct movies in Hollywood, he accepted only on the condition that his protege Garbo was also signed to a contract. Opposed to hiring the virtually unknown foreign actress, MGM production head Louis B. Mayer eventually relented, though not without complaining, "In America, men don't like fat women." When Stiller and Garbo arrived in Hollywood, studio executives were even less enthusiastic about the awkward girl with the stooped shoulders and droopy eyelids. Even her big feet became a joke around the studio. But before the cameras, Greta came to life, becoming radiant, sensual, and absolutely captivating.
I was Garbo's cameraman on 24 of her 26 pictures. Among all the stars that I've photographed over the years, she was the most outstanding and certainly the most photogenic. We soon learned that her greatest beauty was her eyes, so we always used as many big close-ups as possible.
Ricardo Cortez co-starred with Garbo in her first American film, The Torrent.
During the time we were making the picture, a friend of mine came on the set with Marcus Lowe, who was then president of MGM Pictures. And my friend said, "Who was that girl?" Mr. Lowe looked at Miss Garbo and said, "I don't know. Some girl they brought over from Sweden." That girl from Sweden was something, wasn't she?
With the release of The Torrent, a new star rose in Hollywood. MGM cast her in a series of femme fatale roles to capitalize on their sultry new star. Garbo quickly became one of the top names in movies. Moritz Stiller did not share in her success. Unable to adapt to the American style of production, he went back to Sweden. He died a year later. Stiller had begged Garbo to return with him to Europe, and she is said to have regretted her refusal for the remainder of her life. When she learned of his death, she collapsed in a faint on the movie set. The shy Garbo became a reclusive, elusive figure, avoiding the public glare and shunning publicity. This made her all the more mysterious, resulting in increased public fascination with her. During this period, Garbo carried on a romance with the great screen lover John Gilbert. The fireworks between them was obvious on the screen in their first film together, Flesh and the Devil. For their next picture, Love, studio publicists slyly linked the two actors romantically with the advertising line, "Garbo and Gilbert in love." Movie star biographer Eve Golden talks about the famous Garbo-Gilbert affair.
John Gilbert fell in love with almost every actress he worked with. All of his wives were actresses. He fell in love with actresses between times. Sometimes it worked out and sometimes it didn't. In 1926, he made Flesh and the Devil with Greta Garbo and fell madly head over heels in love with her. How great a love affair it was is under some suspicion. John Gilbert might have exaggerated it a bit because he was that sort of a person. But she and John Gilbert did remain friends to the end.
Gilbert never hid his affection for Garbo, but the Swedish Sphinx denied there was anything between them, ending their affair in 1929. MGM capitalized on Garbo's growing mystique. In The Mysterious Lady, Garbo continued in vamp mode, playing a Russian spy seducing an Austrian general. The title gave her one of her nicknames, further securing her place as one of Hollywood's greatest stars. Garbo's popularity would be tested by a cloud looming on the horizon: talkies. Talking pictures were taking over Hollywood, and foreign-born stars such as Vilma Banky and Pola Negri found themselves unemployable because of their thick accents. What would be the fate of the divine Garbo? One of Garbo's closest friends, German actor Emil Jannings, was one of the victims of talkies. Arguably one of the greatest performers in silent films and winner of the first Academy Award for Best Actor, Jannings' thick accent doomed his American film career. He returned to Germany to work with American director Josef von Sternberg on a new talkie, The Blue Angel, to be filmed in both English and German. Jannings starred as the distinguished teacher who becomes enamored of a sexy cabaret singer, Lola Lola. Von Sternberg searched for an actress who could become a sultry siren alluring enough to cause a respectable professor to sacrifice his life's career. He found her performing on a Berlin stage. After her appearance in Street of Sorrow, Marlene Dietrich's career continued to grow in German movies, gaining popularity. She never lost an opportunity to show off her fabulous legs. Like Garbo, she was often cast as a femme fatale, and reviewers frequently compared her performances favorably with Garbo's Hollywood pictures. Yet Marlene remained a complete unknown outside her native land until Josef von Sternberg cast her in The Blue Angel.
Film 701, Sternberg, Frau Dietrich, 195, Aufnahme 3.
A definite bonus was that Marlene Dietrich could speak English, as demonstrated in her screen test.
You're the cream in my coffee, you're the salt in my stew, you will always be my necessity, I'm lost without you.
Ich bin von Kopf bis Fuß auf Liebe eingestellt.
As Stiller had with Garbo, von Sternberg took over Marlene's life, coaching and molding her into the seductive cabaret singer Lola Lola. Like Garbo, Dietrich was forced to slim down to become acceptable to American audiences. While remaking Marlene from plump Frau to enigmatic woman of the world, Sternberg also took Marlene as his lover. Best known in the English language version is Marlene singing Falling in Love Again, which became her theme song. The image of Lola Lola became so strong that it cast Dietrich in the mode for most of her screen career.
What's a girl who do? Can't help it.
Even hurriedly make a new film and capitalize on his discovery. Von Sternberg continued to mold her into a figure of erotic fantasy. Marlene willingly accepted this remaking of herself to suit von Sternberg's vision. Garbo was also remaking herself, taking the plunge by making her first talkie. What would the Swedish Sphinx sound like? Audiences found out in 1930 when Garbo released her first talking picture, Anna Christie. Garbo Talks was the pitch as audiences filled theaters to hear as well as see their adored one. Just as Dietrich performed in two versions, English and German, for The Blue Angel, Garbo spoke English and German in the two versions of Anna Christie. She received Oscar nominations for her roles in both Anna Christie and her second talkie, Romance. Instead of ruining her career, Garbo's accent solidified her image as a woman of mystery. But she now had competition. Arriving at Paramount, Dietrich and von Sternberg embarked on one of the most remarkable series of pictures in Hollywood history. In Morocco, their first American production, Marlene had the role of a French cabaret singer, molded along the lines of Lola Lola with a strong Garbo influence. Destitute, world-weary, and with a history, she performs in a rundown theater in French Morocco. She has the choice of the financial security of marrying a successful businessman, played by Adolphe Mengy, or following a lowly French Foreign Legion soldier, played by Gary Cooper.
When will I see you again?
Maybe never. Something tells me I'm not coming back this time.
She chooses Cooper as her lover, both on the screen and off. Like Garbo, her entry into American films proved highly successful. A new movie love goddess had risen, and Paramount was more than willing to match her up in competition with the reigning queen of the silver screen over at MGM. The battle of the exotic love goddesses was on. Garbo weighed in, making a slew of talkies, with MGM pairing her with their top leading men in a series of romances. These included Inspiration with Robert Montgomery and Susan Lennox, Her Fall and Rise, the only film in which Garbo appeared with Clark Gable. MGM also responded to the challenge of Paramount's Dietrich by putting Garbo in more roles as exotic, mysterious foreigners. And who could be more exotic and mysterious than the dancer-turned-spy, Mata Hari? Although their studios cast them as rivals, Greta is said to have admired Dietrich, while Marlene denied she was imitating Greta, saying there is nobody else like Garbo. Grand Hotel exemplified the kind of film for which MGM became famous. Big, glamorous, and full of stars.
I was ambitious then. We were drilled like little soldiers. No rest, no stopping. I was little, slim, but hard as a diamond. Then I became famous and... But why am I telling you all this?
Set in post-war Berlin, it tells the story of several disparate characters and their intertwining affairs. In this film, Garbo utters the line that became tied to her persona, I want to be alone. But she was far from alone in this film. In addition to Garbo, the cast included Joan Crawford and Wallace Beery, John and Lionel Barrymore, all of whom feuded bitterly when the cameras weren't rolling. For all the off-screen rivalry, the on-screen chemistry dazzled, and Grand Hotel won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Do you expect to stay in Shanghai for a while?
I don't know.
Then we ought to see each other a lot.
Perhaps.
Why is he tied up?
I'm going to present him with a small token of my esteem.
You don't dare harm him. You promised to return him.
I didn't say in what condition.
This way, please.
Paramount retaliated with Shanghai Express, another Dietrich Sternberg collaboration. Marlene played another of her immortal characters, the notorious Shanghai Lily, known as the White Flower of the China Coast. She's joined by other disreputable characters boarding the train in Peking for the eventful ride to Shanghai. Critics dubbed it Grand Hotel on Wheels, but it proved a hit film, the biggest success of the von Sternberg-Dietrich collaborations. They followed up with Blonde Venus, made in 1932, with a pre-code tale of a cafe singer who becomes a kept woman to pay for her husband's medical treatment. Though remembered for the hot voodoo scene in which Marlene emerges from a gorilla suit, it was also a notorious box office dud. The battle of the Euro divas continued. Garbo made As You Desire Me with Melvyn Douglas, Eric von Stroheim, and Hedda Hopper.
I played her sister in As You Desire Me, and for a brief time, she dropped her shyness, and I found behind the legend the person. Warm, charming, intelligent. All the things I'd been told by the people who had worked with her.
Over at Paramount, Dietrich made Song of Songs, playing against type, a naive country girl. Not so naively, Marlene reportedly posed for the nude statue prominent in the film. Its director, Ruben Mamoulian, showed the movie to Garbo to convince her to let him direct her next picture, instead of another candidate, Dietrich's own Joseph von Sternberg. Whether it was the movie or the man, she picked Mamoulian, both as her director of her next film and as her new off-screen romance. The fan magazines hinted at marriage, but Garbo remained as reticent as ever, in part because of her shyness.
And I loved her, and I knew her, nobody knew her.
The more remote Garbo became, the more fans clamored to hear more about her.
She was not always loyal to her friends. If you ratted out on her to the press, she would never speak to you again.
Marlene also liked to keep the fans guessing. Along with her affairs with von Sternberg, Marlene's lovers included Gary Cooper, Maurice Chevalier, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., Ronald Colman, Richard Barthelmess, Brian Ahern, and Ernest Hemingway. She was even sometimes seen in the company of her husband, throwing the gossip columnists into confusion. Marlene also had sexual relationships with the eccentric Spanish screenwriter Mercedes de Acosta and other women. De Acosta also boasted of an affair with Greta Garbo. The veracity of de Acosta's claims are unknown, since Garbo, true to nature, neither confirmed nor denied them. She continued to weave a web around herself of aloof remoteness, refusing to grant interviews, disdaining the public, always craving to be left alone. If Greta was mysterious, Marlene was bewildering. She too could be remote and aloof, presenting an image of mystery, but she loved to drop hints everywhere, parading her string of lovers before the cameras, then brushing off the questions of reporters. At times, these two movie goddesses seemed to be not merely foreign, but otherworldly, if not alien. Sometimes even star-worshipping fan magazines lashed out of the veils of mystery and aloofness of these Euro divas. While Garbo remained enigmatic, Marlene tested the times with her audacious behavior. Above all was the projection of a kind of androgyny in her pictures and her public appearances, presenting herself as desirably feminine with overtones of dangerous masculinity. As one wag observed about Marlene, she has sex, but no particular gender. This image had been strongly influenced by von Sternberg, who dressed her in men's clothing in several of their films, which also included lesbian overtones. He had Dietrich kiss a woman in Morocco and ogle a chorus girl in Blonde Venus. Marlene enjoyed wearing men's garb in her films so much, she carried it over into her off-screen life. Often seen at public appearances wearing top hat, bow tie, and tails, she was dubbed the best-dressed man in Hollywood. When approached by Paramount to possibly replace Dietrich on Blonde Venus, Tallulah Bankhead replied, "Oh goody, I always wanted to get into Marlene's pants." Androgyny aside, Dietrich helped start the vogue of wearing slacks, making them acceptable to heterosexual women. As if following Dietrich's lead, Greta wore pants in her next movie. Queen Christina found Garbo returning to her Swedish roots. She had the title role of the enigmatic monarch who dressed as a man, led a wild life, and ultimately abdicated.
I thought you would understand when you saw me again what had happened. That it had been so enchanting to be a woman. Not a queen, just a woman in a man's arms.
At her insistence, Garbo also reunited with John Gilbert, whose career had gone downhill with the advent of talkies. This tale of a queen renouncing her throne would prove prophetic for Garbo. Apparently inspired by the success of Queen Christina, Paramount okayed their Euro diva playing another European monarch. In 1934, von Sternberg directed Marlene again in The Scarlet Empress, one of the most controversial historical dramas ever made. Dietrich played the Princess Sophie Frederique, who became Catherine the Great of Russia. Critics and audiences hated the film, now recognized as an artistic, if perverse, classic. The Devil is a Woman was the last collaboration between von Sternberg and his protege. They went their separate ways in 1935. Feeling the loss of von Sternberg, Dietrich made life hard for both the producer and director on the set of her next film, Desire. But on screen, she sparkled as an international jewel thief, re-teamed with co-star Gary Cooper.
I was really afraid.
Of what?
Of you?
But I didn't do anything.
But you intended to.
I did not.
You had it in your eye.
I didn't know it showed.
My uncle sent me to persuade you to leave. Can you be persuaded?
No.
Thank you, darling.
In another of the interwoven threads of Garbo and Dietrich's lives, John Gilbert was cast in a supporting role. Marlene immediately began an intimate relationship with Garbo's cast-off lover. She tried to keep the alcoholic actor off the bottle, but his health was fast failing. After a series of heart attacks, including one in Dietrich's swimming pool, Gilbert had to be dropped from the movie. He died in 1936 at the age of 41. Garbo made no public comment and did not attend his funeral. But Dietrich did, collapsing in the aisle of the church in her grief. In 1935, Garbo reprised her role of Anna Karenina, which she had originally played in 1927 opposite Gilbert. This time, she shared the screen with Frederick March and Basil Rathbone.
You're going away with me.
Yes. Yes, Alexei. Don't leave me ever again.
I told you that before you went away. You undertook to bear that penalty. You will bear it. And I even had to bear mine. Do you hear? Do you hear?
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't think you cared what happened to me.
Anya, dearest, how can you say that? I love you. I love you, Anya.
Do you?
Don't doubt it.
I know now that there is no escape for me. I love you, Alexei. I love
you. For her performance, Garbo was given the New York Film Critics Award for Best Actress, which she would also win a year later for her next movie, Camille. This film found the divine Garbo in the role of the elegant courtesan known as Camille, who makes the mistake of falling in love.
Take this and come back to me when it dies. Tomorrow night.
Dead already. Now.
No, it's impossible.
Nothing's impossible now. Send those people in the other room.
I can't.
Then I will.
Oh, you've never known love be lost, monsieur?
Never, when it was unsanctified by marriage, unblessed by children or social ties.
I shall love Armand always. And I believe he shall love me always, too.
Always.
Always.
I could kill you for this.
I'm not worth killing, Armand. I've loved you as much as I could love. If that wasn't enough, I'm not to blame.
Some of the greatest actresses of stage and cinema had played Camille, but when Garbo took the role, she made it hers forever. For movie fans, Camille is Garbo. No one ever looked more beautiful while dying of tuberculosis. George Cukor directed Garbo in Camille.
Miss Garbo is very hard-working, very disciplined. She made very few demands, but when she made them very quietly, and she wanted them listened to. Aside from that, she was most amenable and cooperative.
If Garbo received awards and nominations, Dietrich at least raked in the dough. In 1936, she was the highest-paid woman in the world. Paramount was giving her good money, but not good scripts, and soon Garbo ran into the same trouble. In Conquest, made in 1937, Garbo played the Polish Countess Maria, who becomes Napoleon Bonaparte's mistress. She begs Napoleon, played by Charles Boyer, to free her native land from Russia.
The crown would not be unbecoming on that lovely head.
I want no other crown than your loving me.
I wish mine were as lasting as yours, then.
You have given me much more than love, Napoleon Bonaparte. You touched me and gave me life. You lifted me up. The whole world went away from me. I will never know that little world again.
Despite the lavish production, Conquest proved as disastrous at the box office as Napoleon's Russian campaign. Dietrich, too, had appeared in some major box office flops. One of them was The Garden of Allah. Garbo had turned down the script, and Marlene regretted not doing the same. In May 1938, the president of the Independent Theater Owners of America published an ad in movie trade papers labeling several big-name stars box office poison, claiming that their tremendous salaries did not reflect in their ticket sales. Among the stars named were Mae West, Katharine Hepburn, Joan Crawford, Greta Garbo, and Marlene Dietrich. Between 1937 and 1939, neither Dietrich nor Garbo made any movies. After being labeled box office poison, Dietrich lost out on a movie she had been slated for, and Paramount declined to renew her contract. Going back to her native land was out of the question. Detesting the Nazis, Marlene had spurned Hitler's offer of making films in Germany. The Nazis responded by banning her movies. Losing the lucrative German market had simply given Paramount another reason to drop her, and became an obstacle to other studios in hiring her. It seemed her career was finished. But an offer did come from Universal Studios, who wanted her to play yet another saloon singer, this time in a comedy western. Marlene played the brawling Frenchie in Destry Rides Again, which also starred Jimmy Stewart as the non-violent lawman. The result was another film classic, and Marlene got 2 more songs in her repertoire. Comedy revived Garbo's career as well. In the Ernst Lubitsch classic, Ninotchka, she had the role of a stern agent of the Soviet Union sent to Paris, only to be seduced by love and capitalism. It was her first comedy since the slapstick short she made back in Sweden.
Go to bed, little father. We want to be alone.
Please. You like me just a little bit?
Your general appearance is not distasteful.
Thank you.
The whites of your eyes are clear. Your cornea is excellent.
Your cornea is terrific. Surely you feel some slight symptom of the divine passion. A general warmth in the palms of your hands. A strange heaviness in your limbs. A burning of the lips. That isn't thirst, but something 1,000 times more tantalizing, more exalting than thirst.
You're very talkative.
Her performance earned her a 4th Academy Award nomination for Best Actress. Destry Rides Again might easily have been called Dietrich Rides Again, as the rough and tumble Western revitalized her career. In 7 Sinners, she was cast along with the only actor who seemed more manly than her, John Wayne.
Good night.
Not yet.
Oh, I must. Because at this time of the night, I have no sense.
No sense this time of night.
You were accused of
inciting and exciting a riot, of being a public nuisance. I make rough seas. I set the jungle on fire.
I'm a bad influence.
You don't want to make a scene here, do you?
No, I don't want to make a scene. Not for anything in the world.
Wayne's career had also just revived, thanks to the movie Stagecoach. When Dietrich first met Wayne, she walked right past him, then looked back at him and whispered, "Oh, Daddy, buy me that." Thus began an intense 3-year affair between Wayne and Dietrich. Wayne called Marlene the most intriguing woman I've ever known.
Marlene Dietrich, Randolph Scott, John Wayne, in a drama bold as the screen can give.
From now on, things are going to be run my way, and you can start adjusting yourself to that idea. And that's my way. Like it?
The pair re-teamed in The Spoilers, a remake of the classic tale of the Yukon Gold Rush. This rousing, brawling picture was another box office hit. But while Marlene was having an affair with the Duke, she continued to be seen in public with author Ray Marquet, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., George Raft, Frank Sinatra, and Jean Gabin, flaunting her old, new, and future love affairs. In Pittsburgh, Dietrich, Wayne, and Randolph Scott formed a love triangle set in the coal and steel industries. But Pittsburgh found the relationship between Wayne and Dietrich at an end, on and off screen. At the same time, the Destry revival faltered for Dietrich.
I'm your kind of guy, see? And you're my kind of gal. We were cut from the same chunk.
Yeah. From dirt and smoke. Maybe that's what you want. I've got other plans.
Marriage with that crowd is a business like everything else. Oh, come on, Hunky. You got the wrong slants. You got to see this thing the right way.
In the many ups and downs of her career, she again found her box office appeal plummeting as her latest movies bombed. Garbo was not faring any better.
Outside of love, everything else seems to be a waste of time. I like men.
Her follow-up to Ninotchka was a dual role in Two-Faced Woman. It suffered from rewrites and struggles with the censors, and when released, critics trashed it, while audiences ignored it.
Karen, please don't do that. It shocks me.
Well, it didn't shock you when I was Catherine, did it?
You, Catherine? My dear, you're having delusions of grandeur. You prosaic, respectable ski instructor.
I am not respectable. Don't talk to me like that. Oh, I couldn't take money from you.
Why not?
That's immoral.
You have very strange ideas of morality.
I've always lived by my own talents. I never take money from relatives, only from strangers. It's my code. Why, of all the men in the world, did fate bring me here and make me fall in love with my own sister's husband? It's a small world.
It's too crowded for me.
Not yet.
After Two-Faced Woman, Garbo left the movies, never to return. Like Queen Christina, Garbo abdicated her stardom for reasons she never explained. Perhaps it was the poor reception of her last film, or perhaps she felt she was getting older, and the style of the film she felt most comfortable with had become old-fashioned. Much of Garbo's appeal was international, and world affairs intruded on her career. The Second World War cut off the lucrative foreign market where Garbo's films made the most money, and that may also have influenced her dramatic decision. The war affected Marlene as well, but in an entirely different way. Dietrich campaigned vigorously for the Allied war effort, making anti-Nazi radio broadcasts in German.
I had hardly thought it possible that entertainment of such high caliber could be presented out here in the field. I wish to add my respect and admiration along with General Clark and Irving Berlin to the men and women of the Fifth Army.
Most of all, Dietrich toured with the USO shows on the battlefront, becoming what she often portrayed in the movies, a singer entertaining soldiers. For her efforts, she was awarded the Congressional Medal of Freedom and France's Legion of Honor. As befitting someone from a country as neutral as Sweden, Greta Garbo remained non-committal and out of the public eye. Dietrich made only a couple of movies during the war years.
In my palace, there is a corner I call the Garden of the Stars.
I like that.
There I sat night after night with my astrologers. They're a stupid lot. They don't know anything about women.
But you do, my prince.
There never was another woman in the world I couldn't forget but you.
Kismet put the Prussian diva into Middle Eastern garb for her one picture with Garbo's studio, MGM. Ronald Colman starred as an Arab adventurer and Dietrich as the Grand Vizier's mistress, with her famous legs painted gold despite the danger of lead poisoning. Unfortunately, the censors cracked down on Dietrich's exotic dance, which was the highlight of the movie.
You are young, and you are strong, and you are my beautiful man.
Please, your hands. Couldn't you arrange to sit on them or something?
Golden Earring starred Ray Milland on a commando mission behind enemy lines during World War II. Dietrich played a gypsy woman who aids him, and they fall in love. But for all the romance on the screen, in reality, Milland and Dietrich couldn't stand each other.
Now get this clear once and for all. You simply must learn to behave like a good woman.
But I am a good woman. I just want to kiss you, little.
Dietrich thought Milland was a pompous prig, and what he thought of her is unrepeatable. Despite the rift, the movie proved a big success, again restoring Dietrich's fortune. Her popularity was undiminished in 1948 when her daughter, sometime actress Maria, married and gave birth to a son. Fan magazines declared Marlene the most glamorous grandmother in the world. Yet the fact she was a grandmother must have reminded her of the march of time, especially as she was cast opposite younger women, Jane Wyman in Stage Fright.
Taking all the trouble to protect my reputation, covering up the accident, destroying that dreadful dress.
I didn't destroy it.
Let them say, if they like, it's a miracle.
This sounds to me remarkably like blackmail. I think I better call the police.
Yes, do call the police, Miss Imwood. We'll talk to them together.
Who are you?
Here, Dietrich played a musical comedy star in the murder mystery directed by Alfred Hitchcock, who said, Miss Dietrich has that spark that transmits itself visually. It's rare. No Highway in the Sky re-teamed Marlene with James Stewart. He played an engineer convinced that an airplane is in danger of structural failure.
What are you thinking?
Oh, I don't know. I never thought much about things like that.
Oh, no. You didn't have much time. You were so busy with your multiplication table. But you had a chance to play God for a little while. Why did you pick me out?
Again, playing a musical comedy star, Dietrich simply went along for the ride. Fritz Lang's Rancho Notorious attempted to repeat the magic of Destre Rides Again. It was Dietrich's last role as a saloon singer.
A young man is full of adventure and eager to do what he can. He may be a joy, but don't send a boy to do the work of a man.
Marlene the Magnificent. It was hard for a man to look at her and keep to the rules.
That was for trying. That was for trying too hard.
I'm asking you, where are you going?
Away from here. To Baldy Gunder's or the Golden Dollar or the Arcady or any saloon that'll have me.
I'll kill you before you do it.
Ironically, it was about this time that she returned to being a singer on stage. Marlene had her stage and recording career to fall back on, something Garbo did not have. For Garbo, there were no curtain calls, no last bows, no long fade-out. She simply walked away from performing. For years, studios and movie fans begged her to return to the screen, but to no avail. Although she had been nominated 4 times, Garbo never won an Academy Award until she was given an honorary Oscar in 1954. But she did not attend the ceremonies. She had permanently turned her back on Hollywood. At the same time, Hollywood turned its back on Marlene. Her film roles had become fewer and smaller, but her popularity remained undiminished, as exemplified by her playing ringmaster at a charity benefit circus. It sparked her appearance in Las Vegas, where she began to do what she loved most, performing before crowds who adored her. She went on tour through America and Europe, playing to sell-out crowds, singing all the songs she had introduced during her movie career. Although her stage career now dominated most of her time, she still occasionally made movies. Between 1958 and 1961, Dietrich gave sterling performances in 3 notable films.
Witness for the prosecution.
She played the wife of a man accused of murder in Witness for the Prosecution. Directed by Billy Wilder, it starred Tyrone Power as the accused man and Charles Lawton as his defense attorney.
Marlene Dietrich.
Marlene was at her femme fatale best, testifying against her husband.
The question is, Frau Helm, were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
Damn you! Damn you! Leave her alone! Damn you!
Touch of Evil found Dietrich in a memorable cameo as a bordello madam, letting corrupt cop Orson Welles know his luck had run out.
My husband was a military man, all his life. He was entitled to a soldier's death. He asked for that. That he should be permitted the dignity of a firing squad. You know what happened. He was hanged with the others.
Judgment at Nuremberg cast her as the widow of a German officer, hosting an American judge, Spencer Tracy, during the Nazi war crimes trials. Aside from an occasional cameo, such as in Paris When It Sizzles, Marlene ceased appearing in movies, concentrating on her stage and recording career. Dietrich continually sought the adoration of the crowds, the press, and her fellow stars. On the reverse course, as far out of the public eye as she could manage, Garbo divided her time between Switzerland, the Riviera, and her New York apartment. Garbo had affairs, but never married, and spent her remaining years in near isolation. It turned out the woman who vaunted to be alone really wanted to be alone. She coldly turned aside autograph seekers, ignored requests for public appearances, brushed aside pleas to appear in one more film. Elusive and unobtainable on the screen, she became just as elusive and unobtainable in real life. As she got older and more frail, Marlene, too, followed Greta out of the public eye. Born within a few years of each other, Garbo and Dietrich also died within a few years of each other. As much as an enigma as she ever had been, Garbo passed away on April 15, 1990, at the age of 84. On May 6, 1992, Marlene died in her sleep in her Paris apartment. Never forgotten, they were universally mourned in a world far different from the one they had originally captivated more than a half-century earlier. But like true movie goddesses, their films have made them immortal, always young and beautiful, and still able to capture the imagination. Because their movies rank as some of the greatest film classics ever made, they remain cultural icons as well. The Divine Garbo and La Dietrich. Supernaturally beautiful beings of light and shadow, they will continue to beguile new generations of moviegoers as two of Hollywood's most legendary rivals.